us here.
No,
Okay.
I don't want to be a distraction.
We're kind of live, but I'm taking a minute.
I'm sorry?
Before I introduce, Cory, you can kind of mug to the camera if you want while we're getting this going. Because I'm excited to be chatting about this, to be honest with you. Okay. Aww.
That's Chloe.
Deanna, Chloe says hi.
Hey, Chloe. Hi. Okay, so I am here with Chloe.
Well, now Chloe left.
So I am here today with my dear friend, Cory Kinnear. And we have been friends for, I don't know how many years, 4 years?
I want to say, yeah, going on 5 maybe?
Yeah, and
it's like
we
longer though. Whatever.
We connected very quickly. And we were just talking earlier, and I responded to Cory because I saw something that you had posted regarding, just your thoughts on parenting your daughter, and I'll let you talk about that in a second, who is a beautiful little girl with autism. And I'm also the parent of several special needs children. They're just special in my opinion.
Quotes, so everyone.
Yeah. And I mean, we've connected because we both saw the importance of having amazing nutrition, and so we connected through the business that we're both in, which is awesome for families and all of that. But I really wanted to talk today about a subject that is on both of our hearts, and that is really how we talk to our children, about our children, and what we want to tell other people about the way that they could be educated in how they talk to their kids too. And, this is my page, so I get to talk about myself all the time. So I'm going to kind of hand, most of this over to you, Cory, because
I'd love to hear about you more. I don't care whatever you want to do.
Before we get into what you're talking about, I will say that one of my kids, Alec, who is my child who's adopted from Ukraine, he is now 12, and sometimes it's hard when they try to give you a diagnosis. We're going to use a lot of air quotes today, yeah. I think.
And I don't really like them, which is weird, but I find myself doing this a lot because I don't know how else to express.
I think it's hard when you have either, like some of my kids had no diagnosis.
Hashtag air quotes, everyone.
They were just amazing and special and different and creative in their classes and everything, but people didn't understand how to deal with them. So we really, you had mentioned something on your page about parenting your daughter and like how even birthday invitations and how special they are to our kids, and yet sometimes they're not invited. My son is disinvited a lot. So I want to just kind of have you just talk about what you were posting and what's on your heart.
Well, first off, thank you for having me here. Deanna has more than just connected me and fulfilled me with so much love and grace. She's taught me a lot about how to do that for others. And in my time knowing Deanna, I have, we slowly, when we meet people, especially in what we do, we slowly leak out little bits of ourselves. And the major part of myself, the major reason for me right now, my biggest accomplishment is being a mom. My greater accomplishment, which I continue to try to master because I'm never going to say I know it all, is being a mom to a special needs daughter. And so I'm wearing my shirt. I don't know if you guys can see, it says Blessed Mom. I picked it for this. So it says Blessed Mama, because she calls me Mama actually. And so, so if I could just step back a little bit, I'll give you a little bit of the rundown over my daughter, Riley, which I wish I had a close picture of, but now I can't hear you. What?
I muted myself because my dog was barking again. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I wish I had a close picture. Well, you can check out on my wall or whatever if she's there. everywhere. So we're not going to talk about, here comes the air quotes. I don't want to go down the road here of how. Because what I am going to say is that the most, and I'm sorry, when I'm looking up here, I'm not ignoring the camera. I'm truly thinking, because my brain, Deanna can attest to, works really, really fast. And I instantly, especially when I have a purpose, so I feel like, you know, I really, truly want to get as much content out as possible and not keep people so long, because this is a topic that is the number one thing closest to my heart before anything else. So when I'm looking up here, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It's just I'm trying to make sure that I stay on track with what I'm saying. Yes, notes would work, but they don't really work. That's not really how I how I talk. But I want to go back to when I had my daughter, and she was almost, I'm gonna say she was around 2 or turning 2. And there was a Gymboree class that we went to. I wanted to bring her to the Gymboree class because she was an only child. And I wanted to get, you know, acclimated, young, something to do, right? You know, instead of just staring at my head all day or, you know, whatever. So I brought her over there. And the first, prior to bringing her to the Gymboree class. So in my past life, and even now, I'm actually signing as we're speaking. I was a sign language interpreter. So I taught my daughter different signs. And so when she was just months old, probably like 6 months and on, she knew what this was, baba. So it's milk, but she knew baba. She knew more. She knew sleep. She knew, basically if she was hungry, you know, but it was always more and baba. Those were the 2 main ones that she knew. So when it was time for her bottle, I would do this and she would kick and get all excited, you know. Remember the little, onesies with the feeties, pajamas? So you just hear that sound. Yes. That cute sound that they get all excited, but they're
so cute. Yes.
So she knew that. And I was like, this is so great. So we're connecting. And I was already starting to tap into that part of her brain, that there's actually a language that could go on between, you know, a parent, a daughter, or, you know, there's language here. And they always say that baby sign language, you know, teaching children sign language is amazing anyway, because it helps open up a part of their brain that they don't get to utilize until they start speaking. And just a side note, it doesn't delay them from speaking. It just helps them communicate more, less frustration for you, and less frustration for them. So sometimes she wouldn't do them very clear, but if she was doing this, I understood what that was. I knew she was hungry. So then anyway, one day, I was doing the sign for bottles early in the morning. So I just figured she was stone, just staring at me. And at first I thought, okay, maybe she's tired. I don't know. Maybe she just doesn't feel like having it right now. Okay, cool. A couple hours. I mean, she's still young, so she has to be, baba's like still the thing. And so I did it again. A couple hours later. She didn't really respond to it, but I gave her the bottle. Now, she wanted it. She was eating it. But I knew in my heart, because of sign language, because of teaching her that there was a disconnect somewhere that it wouldn't, my whole body knew it. Everything that I know knew it. And the first thing I'm going to tell you about moms and dads, parents of special needs children, any guardian, is that there are these little, you really have to kind of open your mind up, because it's 2 things. It's beautiful and difficult at the same time. But yeah, when you can master the difficult, the beauty is like the most, it's like I could cry, right? It's the most amazing thing. So when she wasn't responding to what I was doing, my body immediately felt the difficult because I knew this was not Riley anymore. Like this wasn't, it's Riley, but it's not the Riley that I was with for the past, I don't know, 14 months. It definitely was different. So here in the state of New York, I suggested to get her evaluated. There is no shame in getting them evaluated. That does not mean they have anything. It's just good to check, just to see, let them see if you have any small doubt. And it's the same thing. Let's put in perspective for me, which was kind of funny. And Deanna knows I use a lot of jokes for deflection when something gets really serious. But when I was pregnant with Riley, you know, I didn't know. And I was having cramps. She wasn't due for another 2 weeks or so. And my mom's like, let's go get checked to the doctor. And I'm like, no, I don't want to waste their time. Like, I probably just have to go to the bathroom. I'd be mortified. They'll send you home. Yeah, first time mom, you have to poop. Like, wait, I'm sorry. But like, that's an example, right? So a lot of times we think as adults, should I even seek help if I seek help? Right. If I seek help, does that mean that she's this or he's that? But it doesn't. Just do it. The resources are there for a reason. And so that's what we did. And well, I did. And against a lot of people in my family, they weren't really understanding why I was doing it. They were, you know, obviously supportive, but knew it would come back like everything's fine. Like Cory just needs to hear it from someone else. And I said, sure, I do. I need to hear it from someone else because like I told you, those difficult feelings were like rubbing all over me. And this is something that I have to figure out. Like let a professional tell me no. And then I'll just jump to whatever else it is. Maybe it's me. I don't know. So they come. The moment they came to see her, they came in-house, and sure enough, after all 4 people came through, she was labeled autistic. And in the moment I heard the word, I blanked out like she did. I just blanked out. And I immediately, my brain, and Deanna knows this, but I'm sure all of you that have children or are raising children, and again, they don't have to be your blood, they're your children if you're raising them. The first thing you think of is I want to protect them. That's number one, right? So now that they're labeling her something, how can I protect her from being bullied and being picked out of or left out of parties or being misunderstood? I mean, I went through. Now, this is in milliseconds after I heard the word. I was already, she's 5 and not speaking, and nobody wants to play with her, and I'm going to be the mom at the playground that's going to go to jail because I'm going to be yelling at kids who don't understand, and they're calling her names. You know what I mean? Like, I played it out, and I said, okay. And I had to actually take a deep breath, and it took a day. I cried all day. I didn't let my daughter see it. Obviously, right? Because you don't want them to think there's something wrong with them. And this is where the line becomes so important. I truly believe that I am blessed because of Riley and because of who she is and what she represents. To someone like me who grew up just like everyone else, a certain way, a product of our environment, you know, it held certain traumas, certain put certain walls up, all of these different things that we've traveled through our life to become an adult. And then like, there's always that joke that goes around, like, you know, with once I'm a parent and when you're older, you could be in therapy talking about me, how I messed you up, you know, that joke.
Yes.
So, right. So I thought about all of this. And in the interim of thinking about this, when I would look at my daughter, even though she didn't understand that I was doing milk, nor did she understand what I thought was a severe issue, and I'm going to get into why it's really not, is because, first of all, I couldn't explain it to her. And secondly, I wouldn't anyway. And the people that diagnosed her, I also got a second opinion, and they came in, the same diagnosis. And so I didn't fight the diagnosis, but I didn't appreciate, now this was in my head, remember, because I'm still learning, because they're here to help me. And I knew that they were, but I didn't appreciate the immediate dialogue of labeling and that we have to fix her. Like, we have to get her, she needs intensive, early intervention, and she needs to, we've got to teach her daily skills and, simple things so she can catch up with everybody else. Now, I understand that, but I didn't like the sound of the severity of it. If you understand what I'm trying to say, Deanna, sometimes I know what I mean in here. Sometimes coming out here is so I use my hands a lot. So if the severity of, for me, was like taking all of those bullying and labeling and all that stuff, and here's my daughter who just is here in the world and looking around and learning at her pace and seeing things and, being happy when she sees me in the morning, but not calling me my name. And they also told me that she probably wouldn't be speaking. They didn't see a way that she would speak. So I was told she would never speak. So through a lot of soul searching, and a lot, and I still do that to this day. Said, all right, well, I learned sign language for a reason. We'll go that route. I'll try to get her back to understanding this, and then we'll start early intervention. And here's what I want everyone to sort of grasp right now. The first thing that I would tell parents and guardians, I'm going to say guardians because not everyone is a birth parent to a special needs. Some are amazingly adopting special needs children. Some are raising them just because they have to for the circumstance of their family. So that person, it's not your fault. The two of you that made this person, or the two people that made this person, it's not their fault. It's nobody's fault. And I want everyone to really kind of sink that in for a second, because I think where the headbutting starts when somebody says your child is special needs or autistic is immediately, what did I do wrong? If you carried your child, right, as a carrying mom, you think, I don't know, did I eat something I shouldn't eat?
Right.
You start going through your entire, I was sick for a long time. Did that affect her? Was it something that I ate? Was it something that I didn't give myself enough? I mean, you go through all these scenarios. And for people who have adopted children, did I exclude them in a certain way? Did I not see the signs? Did I not? Because there aren't any. There aren't any like clear-cut signs of this. So like I said, mine is a little unique only because I could figure it out with sign language. People have asked me, if you didn't have sign language, how would you know? You guys, if you just feel that little tingling inside of you, that little voice that kind of says, last week she was really excited, he or she was really excited about taking a bath, and now they don't like it so much. Their frustrations come out through tantrums and meltdowns. And it could be over something very, very simple, like if this black pen, I always use a black pen to write, let's say, and my daughter wants to write something, and she always used a pencil or a different color pen, and I only had this pen, I gave it to her, she won't write. She's like, I need my pencil, because routine is very important to them. And so the first thing I'm going to tell you is their meltdowns and their frustrations, it kills you. It pains me to see my daughter going through that because I can't stop it. I have learned some tools that I'd be happy to share with you guys. And I also now know what would trigger it and what wouldn't. But the main thing was when they were starting and when they were happening, she just looked so angry. And she's not an angry soul. She's just misunderstood.
Yeah.
If anyone just takes themselves out of special needs for a second and you're trying to explain something to somebody, right? Let's take a simple analogy, right? Let's not go hard and crazy. Something simple you're trying to explain, and you do like, oh my God, like you're banging your head against the wall. How does this person not understand what I'm saying? You know, I've said it 6 different times. I've used analogies, charts. You know, I've had conversations with people over just everyday things, and they don't understand my point of view, what I'm trying to say. It's very frustrating. So now put it to the umpteenth degree of not being able to communicate, and the only person that could take care of me, or the only people that are around me that are helping me to survive and live, I can't explain myself to them. I can't tell them. And so it's this difficulty of trying to communicate with each other when there is no lines of communication. There really is not. The bright news, the good news, is that eventually it does come, because you start to think about, well, the moment you guys stop thinking it's your fault, you've got to let go of the ego. I mean, I don't mean that disrespectfully, but there are a lot of parents that I know that children has gotten diagnosed and they said, no, they were wrong. I'm going to give it a little while. You'll see. He or she will do this. It'll be fine. Is that serving you as a parent because you don't want to feel like there is actually something wrong with a person you created, or is that serving the one person you created? That's serving you when you say, no, I'm just going to wait. When you know there's obvious things that they're not clicking on, but you're like, You know, a classic example is boys are slower than girls in learning, right? In the beginning. They always tell you that. Girls talk first, boys take a while, blah, blah, blah. I rethink that now, because I feel like sometimes because we were taught that at some point centuries ago, I don't know where that even originated. I don't expect a boy to be faster than my daughter. I just know my daughter is doing something in a different way, or a boy doing anything less than my daughter would do. That's what I meant. Sorry. And so the first thing initially is me talking straight to the guardians of children with special needs. And I also, that's an ingredient. And my dog is coming over now. There's going to be see, they are communicating, right? So we don't, this is what I'm talking about. No, she thinks it's outside. She's going over there.
So I just want you to I want to show you something. This is just to give you a little bit of encouragement, because there are a lot of parents that are out there that have children that are diagnosed or whatever. And so or not diagnosed. So we have just Sarah, who's saying, so excited, struggle daily with my special needs son, autism, sensory, epilepsy, and high anxiety. And then she says, and this is something she says that he struggles with, like language stuff. So you'll give some tips in a second, but I just want you to see, because she says he's 7. Doctor won't officially diagnose him because they saw 1 hour glimpse into my life, not the whole picture. He will call people a-hole, say F, etc. We literally don't even swear in our home. Very strict about language. So, I can relate to Sarah because, and to what you just said, because sometimes, like with my son, who I believe we don't have a diagnosis on him either, but we think that some level possibly of oppositional. He will do the opposite and he won't, but we also think there's certain things that he can't grasp. Sometimes it's harder with kids that have been adopted and maybe had what they call adverse childhood experiences, but you can't really see it. And with autism, it's the same. You don't always see it. So you were going to tell a couple of things about like how you deal with it, and then also some experiences that you've had. But then I'm curious to what you would say to Sarah about her swearing son.
More power to him. No, well, look, this is what they do. I mean, obviously he's hearing it from somewhere. And this is what I have to say about that. I know people, you know, I mean, children that are not diagnosed curse, right? Children that are, I mean, the other day, my daughter said, or Aaron's son said something, the F word about a hockey stick. And it's funny because it's not funny. We're not supposed to laugh, but he'll stutter other words. But that was crystal clear. Like the cursing words, I mean, I know moms, parents, dads, they all know this. The cursing words, they say them very, very clear. Everything else, you're like, what, babe? What do you want? Well, the moment you hear, you know, the S word or an F word, it's clear as day. And you know what else fascinates me? They use it in the exact context that it needs to be used in. They don't use it incorrectly. So that blows my mind away. But I would say, look, this is where I'm going to kind of get to. Actually, this is going to bring me somewhere else, and I'm going to come back around the rabbit hole, I guess. So I don't want to fall too far down. So because I have how with the words, and then so here's what I want to talk to. I want to especially speak to, and guys, you know, this is on Deanna's Facebook, so share it with people, because right this second I would like to speak to parents who don't have children with special needs, and it's not something that rubs. Okay, I mean, I'm going to be very basic here, but I think that there's so much fear going on everything. I'm going to tell you right now that autism, ADHD, ADD, you can't rub child's elbow and then that child then becomes that thing. That's not how this works. And I know you guys know that. It sounds like I'm being condescending, but I'm not, because what happens is people who don't educate their children, especially when they start school, that some kids just, this is all you have to say. You don't have to say they have a disability. You don't have to name it. You don't have to label it. It's simply some kids, just like adults, think and learn differently than other people. Now that's a truth. In the business that Deanna and I have, in network marketing, I can say something to someone and they understand me and the other person doesn't, or I can draw out what I'm saying to somebody and they understand it even better because I took the time to draw something out that I'm explaining. Or I use a lot of analogies and that connects them, okay? So again, we're just learning how to disconnect. We're learning how to connect. The one thing I will say, though, is that to these parents is you have to understand that in this day and age, like for instance, I would not take my daughter to restaurants for a really long time. Shame on me. Because I didn't want to deal with the people that would say, oh, look, she lets her kid sit on her iPad the whole time while she's out to dinner. That's so rude. But that's not why I put her on the iPad. She has sensory issues. So if you walk into a restaurant or a place where it's loud and people are ordering, eating, and somebody's running by and there's a waitress going this way, in their world, this is chaos because it's not explained. Now, just imagine that you don't know what a restaurant is and you walk in and you just see all these people everywhere and noise. You got to put yourself in their shoes for a second. So with my daughter, if I just give her the earphones and she watches something that she likes on her iPad, she's out looking around and eventually she soon slowly gets off the iPad and is able to go to restaurants now. But I've had the experience where I was sitting there, my daughter was on the iPad, and someone looked over at me and made a comment like, look, this is what I'm talking about. Like technology. She's not even paying attention to her daughter. Guys, it took everything I had inside me not to get up and just take this woman's head and bash it into what seemed like a mound of food that she was trying to eat. So I'm not trying to, it took everything I had. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up because she said it so loud but she said it purposely loud, but not to me, about me to the people she was sitting with. So instead of being violent, because violence doesn't solve anything, I said, excuse me. And she turned to me and I said, my daughter has sensory issues. And she looked at me with a blank face. And I said, you don't know what that means, do you? I said, let me fill you in on what that means. This whole area we're sitting in right now, do you not find it loud? Because now I'm getting louder, right? I'm giving you an example. Now I actually raised my daughter's headphones so she didn't hear me having this conversation. I let her, like whatever she was listening to, I raised it a little bit louder. So I said, the fact that I'm yelling at you across here, I'm showing you that this is a loud restaurant. And my daughter doesn't like loud places she doesn't understand. But I'm not going to deprive her of coming out and enjoying a meal with her family. And if you're going to sit here and judge me without knowing the story of my child, that is your problem, not ours. So I would really appreciate if you want to keep talking about that, not to put it in earshot so that I hear it, because I know what you're doing. And then when I'm hearing it, I don't know how this is going to turn out for you. She goes, is that a threat? I said, no, it's a promise. Take it as you will. I don't care. Now, the reason that I back that up like that is because, one, I'm Mama Bear. Two, mind your own effing. My daughter wasn't making a sound. She wasn't the kid that was running. There was already another kid running up and down the aisles, right? Now, normally, before I was a mom, I'd be like, why is this kid running around? But I don't do that anymore. I think maybe this child just can't sit, doesn't like sitting still too long. That's part of sensory. They need to get up. Okay? So my hope as we're talking about this, Deanna, because I love that we are bringing this to light and trying to just shed some sort of light on especially children, guys. We're talking about children. Okay? There's so many other stories that we can go into to change the world, but we're talking about the very beginning of innocence here. And as adults, it is our responsibility to understand that there are children of special needs everywhere around us. And it doesn't matter what kind of special need it is, they are there. And as an adult or as a teenager or anything, it is your responsibility to teach your children that they exist and they are fine. They just think differently. So if they're
we're all different. You know,
right.
We are different.
This leads me to the next point. If this woman and I sat and talked, I'm sure we would find that we handle many, many things differently. Many things different. Deanna is laughing because she probably wouldn't have a chance to talk if she said anything wrong about Riley. But I don't, violence is not the answer. So so that's the difficulty side, right?
But wait 1 second. I will say this. I really do believe that as a parent of children with special needs, what I love about what you're saying, that Mama Bear comes up, right, is that you are taking more of an assertive, active positioning, and these kids, our kids, need that. They need an advocate, and sometimes they don't have an advocate even in their own family because there's so much judgment, confusion, and in the process sometimes of finding out what the issue is, that can take years sometimes. So it's like, how do we deal with it? And then just the very fact that this woman would even say something is that there's so much judgment that our children have to go through, and I don't care what their diagnosis is, they feel it, right? You were going to say something about a party or like birthday parties. I know that Alec has been disinvited before. Like, what's your experience been like with that?
Well, I was getting to, so after she got diagnosed, the reason I put this in quotes, guys, is because when a child is 2 until they're probably about 5 or 6, right? That's when they really start to develop and they're able to reassess and reevaluate them. So there's an umbrella of autism. There's, high functioning and low functioning. And then there's all this stuff in between. So I feel like the word autism is thrown around a lot, right? But what's odd to me is it's thrown around so much, yet we're still surrounded in a society that doesn't really know much about it or doesn't take the time to learn about it. Because again, these are children. I'm not asking you to understand me as a woman because I could take care of myself. I could speak for myself. My daughter cannot. So to pass judgment on my daughter through me is what you're doing. When you're judging me on how I am with my daughter, you're judging my daughter. That's like, I want everyone to understand that. You're not looking at me and go, look at that mom, she's so lazy. You're judging the fact that my daughter probably says, she cries and says, but I want the iPad. And I go, okay, here. That's not the case.
Or when somebody has a meltdown in a public place and all the parents think that they know how to handle things, but the worst thing for them to do is to get too involved, and yet you're having to talk about why the child can't hold the green M&M and the yellow M&M, why there's sometimes you're just trying to cope, and that yet, like you said, we should not have to then decide, okay, well, we're not going out to the restaurant, we're not going to Disney World, we're not going here, we're not going there. If people would suspend judgment and then they would just show a little bit of love and understanding and is there anything I can do to help right now? Something like that. Or just, help me to get out to my car. Something rather than, oh my gosh, let me intercede, So what I wanted to quickly share is we went to Gymboree and my daughter was not interested. She doesn't sit still. At that point in her age, she was around turning 2. She wouldn't sit still. So they have circle time, right? They're sitting there. Yeah. And the kids' ranges that she's in are kids that don't even walk yet. Riley started walking at 9 months. And didn't crawl really. She went from sitting there to walking and then running. And I was like, wait, wasn't I supposed to have a little buffer here so I can get the house prepared? She just got up and started to decide I'm just going to walk. And in that time, we're going to Gymboree class. She's loving it because they have these little ways for her to get out her frustrations. Yeah.
Okay. Which is really good to look into. Any kind of sensory, now they are, because they do have places and things you can buy for your home. My daughter, I bought her a trampoline, little small one that you hold on to, and she would jump on that for an hour because she has so much energy that she can't get out here. So she would jump. Anyway, long story short, the owner of the Gymboree for that class asked me to stay behind with Riley and said, listen, I'm really sorry to have to do this, but we do not want you coming back here.